Hello and welcome back. If this is your return trip, I'm Brian with Airflame Studio, and today we're going to be working on a tutorial covering how to create the drop pods from Helldivers 2. So if you haven't heard of Helldivers 2, it's pretty popular at the time of making this video, and I thought it'd be a cool idea to just do a simple recreation of these drop pods that drop in. So So we're gonna pause this real quick. This video is by a guy named Wabbit, I don't have any connection to them, but I just found this on the internet and thought it was a good visual of the drop pods. We are just dropping through space. I'm not going to do any VFX in this video. Maybe we could do that later if people are interested, but for now we're just going to do the simple mechanics. So we got a drop pod, starts in space, and it falls through the air, has this fire visual, and then as we impact the ground, there's obviously a lot of effects that happen. It shoots the lid off, and then the guys pop up. So that's pretty simple. So we'll start with it. This is what we're going to be making. Drops down, guy comes up, camera thing movement, and you can run around. So I'm in Unreal Engine 4, or actually it's 5. I've been with Unreal Engine since version 4, and now we're in Engine 5. This is 5.2, and we're in a third-person template. So you will want to open Unreal Engine 5 and create a game project, do third-person template, probably just do blueprints, and that'll be a good start for you. We're going to go into our blueprints section, and we're going to create a new blueprint, and we're going to create our drop pod class. So we'll go into blueprint class. We want it to be an actor because we don't, well, actually, I'm not sure if there's any control of the blueprint pod. Let's make it a pawn. Let's delete this. Let's make it a pawn. Because pawn, the difference between a pawn and an actor is that a pawn can be possessed and receive input from a controller, and from what I saw of that video, it kind of looks like you can have some control of where the pods land. I'm guessing it's not just straight down, but maybe you can kind of have some directional control. I actually haven't played Helldivers 2 yet, so yeah, we're going off of videos. So we'll call it BP underscore drop pod. We'll open that up. Drag that across. First things what we're going to want to do is we're going to add a mesh. We're going to call it a static mesh. I'm actually doing this for the first time right now and like basically live, so it's not like other tutorials where you're kind of like you do it, figure it out, and then come back and then do it again a second time faster. So bear with me. So in our static mesh, we're going to go over here to the static mesh section where it says none, and we're going to pick a mesh. I think a cylinder would be good, but a cone would also work. Let's see, cylinder. Okay. And so you notice that when the drop pod hits the ground, it is like all the way down. It's not like landing above ground. It goes into the ground and the guy comes up from underneath of it. So we're going to place this just under at 0, which I guess if we checked the height of the cylinder, we would know roughly how tall to set it, which right here says -50 is our height for that. We're not going to worry too much about scale yet. We can make it taller for now. Let's make it 1.69. And that's going to screw up our thing. Just pull that under. Just so it's like somewhere near the grid. Don't worry about it too much. We're not here using the actual mesh. We're just using stand-in meshes for now. Okay. So next, what do we want to do? We want to control this bad boy. And we also want to spawn it somewhere. So let's start with spawning it in the map. First of all, whoops. Let's check our third person character. We got all this input mapping in here. I'm wondering, so I was thinking that we would possess the drop pod with the character either inside of it with its collision turned off, or should we take possess the drop pod, hit the ground, spawn the character inside the mesh without collisions turned on, transform the character mesh vertically above the pod, and then possess that. So there's like a lot of different ways we could do this, or a few, I should say. So I'd say the main ways we can do this is, like I said, we possess the pod, spawn the character, or we possess the pod, the character's already spawned, then possess the character, or we possess the character and attach this mesh to our character, which might actually be the easiest way to do this. Okay, this is going to be so dumb. This is going to be even easier than this. So I got another idea. Instead of doing a separate drop pod class, oh, this is going to be gross. We could even attach a static mesh here, call this drop pod, and let's say a cylinder. That's not a cylinder. Cylinder. We'll do 1.69. That's still not quite tall enough, is it? Let's say 2. Okay. So now you can see, like, okay, we don't have to reset up all this code here for controlling inputs of the pod. We can just use this class that already exists, and then we'll just like smash the pod down and then have our character transform up, make sure that the collisions are turned off and all that. So that actually would probably work. And in game development, a lot of our challenges is trying to figure out which way we should do something, and you have to make good decisions, or at least try to. You gotta think ahead, like what problems would we run into if we did it this way versus what problems we run into if we do it another way. Can we save time doing it a certain way, and will that time saved come back and bite us in the butt later? And usually a good rule of thumb is keep it simple, stupid, or, you know, keep it easy. Easier is generally better, in my opinion. Simple is good. Yeah. So anyway, ask me why I'm traumatized with complex things, even though I have a tendency to make things overcomplicated. So let's see, we got our mesh. Is there a visibility? Can we hide this? Let's turn off visibility so you can see that the mesh is still there. And we'll just test this out right now, and you'll probably see some problems. Like, say, like, take our player start, and if we drag that up and we hit play, boom. Oh man, see? Can we even, we can't get out. Oh. And this is how prop hunt was invented. Oh my god. Sorry, it's just funny to me. Yeah, so what we actually want to happen is we want this cylinder to drop all the way through the ground except for a little piece of it, and then we'll transform our character up. So back in our third person character blueprint. Oh, I'm just realizing something. We should not do it this way. This is dumb. It seemed too simple, and it would seem too good to be true. It is, because I don't think we can destroy this mesh. We would just disable it so it would be hidden and not have a collider, and that's just like unnecessary, I suppose. And we want to be able to detach from it. Can we detach? Hold on. Let's get this drop pod. Can we detach a component? Oh, we can. I'm exploring this right now. Like, I'm figuring this out. Like, this is live me trying things and seeing what happens. And if you guys are following along, let me know in the comments if you would prefer that I do the tutorial on my own first, figure out how things should go, and then put it together piece by piece for you faster, or would you rather kind of do this like explorational style, figuring things out as we go? Because either one, I think they're both interesting for different reasons. One will save you time and the other will teach you more. Like, you'll learn more, in my opinion. So that's also, like, if you're in tutorial hell and you're like, oh, I'm just like copying tutorials but I'm not really learning anything, like, start experimenting, start trying things, start thinking. And also, don't worry, like, if you're in tutorial hell, it's okay, just keep going. Like, you're learning, like, the motions, like the ropes. You're getting reps in at the gym. You're learning the names of nodes. Your brain's like creating maps and making connections of how things work together. So if you're doing it right, you're also building a reference library. If you're saving these projects that you can go back and be like, oh yeah, I remember I did this one thing this one way. I can go back and look at that project, and that will show me another, like how I did it in the past, and that'll save you time in the future. Okay, after messing around and I realized that it was not going to work no matter what I tried, trying to get this drop pod with this box collider of like from hitting the ground and blocking the collision so it would catch the drop pod. It just wasn't working no matter what I tried, and it's terrible and it's frustrating, and so we're not going to do that. So we're going to do something really dumb, but it's going to work. So I've added a static mesh cylinder to our player character, and this is so dumb, but it's going to work. So if it works, is it really that dumb? So in here, you're going to go to add your static mesh, do that. We're going to pull this down so it's just above the bottom of our little character collider, and we're going to do the same for this guy. So he's inside there. Maybe that's probably good. So now when we hit play, boom, we're catching in the ground, right? Now all we have to do is move our player character up. So it's cheesy. It's very cheesy, but it will work. And it works super excuse me, I'm not supposed to swear that much. Super fucking easy compared to, I don't know why you can't just add a collider on something else, do the exact same thing in principle, but that box collider for the life of me would not collide even if I set it to pawn, which is exactly what this is. I even tried setting it to all the other versions of the block or collider settings, and those didn't work either. So what's up with that? Just wasting people's time. Okay, that's my vent. So now that we've landed on the ground, we want to raise our little dude up. So grab your mesh, which is now mesh 0, and we could do a trigger so that when we land, like it will go up. We could check for velocities and whatnot, but I think we're just gonna keep it simple for the sake of tutorial. We'll add a delay, and we'll do it by time. Ideally, you're gonna want to, like, okay, once you've hit the ground, trigger an event that causes your guy to raise up, but we'll just say like after, I don't know, 1.5 seconds, we'll get our mesh. When we go here and we click on him, we want to check how low we went. Negative 269. I believe we want him to go up to 80, negative 89. Yeah, okay. So negative 269, nice. And we're gonna go transform, probably like a relative, add local transform maybe. I don't know if there's like a relative transform. We could just do a world transform and keep it relative, but maybe local transform will work too. I love that it already does that for us. That's not annoying or anything. No, I don't want to do that. Let's do this. I want to say set world location. There's probably an easier way. What we're going to do is we're going to get our world location. And okay, a little bit of math. Ideally, you would just do a local transform, like, okay, from 269 to 89 is like what, 180? So we're going to just add 180 to whatever our location is. So we'll say add 180. And we're going to teleport. No, we're not. Oh, that's right. He doesn't just teleport out. He like slides up. But let's just test this. Bonk. Okay. So that's teleporting, but we want him to slide up. So what we actually want to do, now that I've wasted so much time on this tutorial, which was only going to take a short amount of time originally, is what do we want? We want a timeline. Timeline. Add timeline. I like timelines personally, but you know, we'll call this like transform player. Sounds weird. I'll say move player up. Just, I don't know, it doesn't have to be perfect. So after our delay, we'll play. we want to go into this little guy, open that up, new track, add float track. We'll call this delta. We'll say like over a period of, I don't know, what, is 1 second too fast or 2 seconds? We'll just say 1 for now. That'll be how long our timeline is. You right click here, add a key, grab that key. We want its time to be 0 and its value to be 0. Right click over here, we'll add another key. We'll put that time to be 1 second and its value to be 1. So this is our delta multiplier. So from 0 to 1 seconds, we're going to multiply a variable from 0 to 1, which, you know, is like 100% basically. Like it's a scalar, if that makes sense. So what we want to do is update our world location. Hold on. Okay, duh. So if we're getting the world location on every update, it's adding to itself, getting the new world location, adding to itself. So it's going to launch like we just saw, which was completely ridiculous, but possibly useful. So we want like an initial world location. So to do that, we're going to get world location. We're going to promote this to a variable. We're going to call it like initial location. And I'm actually going to do that after the delay so we know that we're in the ground. Hit play, 180, and we want to plug initial location into here. And this should work, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Nice. You can see there's around there's there. The thing is, when we move, we still have the thing attached. So what we'll do next is just detach that. So after we do that, we want to detach our static mesh, which was the drop pod. I'm going to call this drop pod. You can press F2 to rename things if double clicking sometimes doesn't work. Oops. Drop pod, drop name. And we'll grab that and we'll say detach from component. Let's keep our world location. I hope it doesn't. Let's make sure it doesn't have physics. It doesn't have physics. Let's not enable gravity. I wonder if it'll move if gravity's not enabled, even though, because it's still like attached to something that does have gravity enabled. Nice. Wow. Well, that's the basics of the drop pod. I could have done that in like 4 minutes now that I know that the certain things won't work certain ways, but that's why I want you to leave a comment if you want me to keep these videos shorter or if you enjoy the entertainment of figuring things out as we go, dealing with problems, comparing things. I don't know. It's whatever you guys like. There's value in both. But I think if you're having to learn this stuff, it's probably better to keep it long. But if you're like already working on something and you need help in a very specific like technique or something, it's probably keep it short. But anyway, that's part 1. I don't know if there will be more parts. If you guys are interested in seeing like how to do VFX or like incorporating this into like the Lyra starter game map so you can come out guns blazing, let me know. Oh yeah, and since while we're here, let's do the camera adjustments. I almost want to copy and paste where this camera is. Say, where are we at? Zeros? Let's move it up. Let's rotate it. What do you think, 80 or 90? I feel like it's not totally 90. I feel like it's at 80. I think it's something like this, maybe? Let's see what this looks like. Okay. Move that forward. Move that forward. Let's move our player start up even higher. And since we did that, let's adjust our delay to 2 seconds. Go woo, bonk. So now we're going to want to do a camera transition back to before the location where the camera was before, if that makes sense. Well, we'll just like zero it out otherwise. All right, so where are we at? we did our thing, we did our thing. When this is finished, actually let's update our camera position too while we're doing that. Hold on, let's check the video. So it's falling down. Do not do that in space or anywhere for that matter. It's my advice. Well, look like, yeah, what did it look like? I don't know, it looked like we just transformed it once we hit the ground. So we got our camera location. I wonder if we can just set it all to 0, like relative, if that would make life easier. I think it's the camera boom. Oh, crap. So we should have moved the camera boom, not the follow camera. But I'm going to see if I can just fix that anyways. Who cares? If it works, works. Set world location and rotation. Can we set like a target? So we want to zero this out. How are we going to zero it out? We could, like, a sneaky way would be to do a separate timeline. And go from 1 to 0 and just multiply our values here. Because then we can just multiply from this. Once they approach 0 smoothly, it would be back where it was. Perfect. That would be a sneaky way. But if this is going from 0 to 1, what we can do is 1 minus. So even sneakier. Say 1 minus, is that a thing? We'll do make literal float. We'll say 1, and we'll subtract. This is going to be very confusing for you guys who struggle with dyslexia. So we'll start at 1, and the bigger this delta gets, as this is like at 0.5, this will become 0.5, and once it hits 1, it'll be 0, and then we'll just multiply our rotation and our location. Yeah, we're going to need to set our initial, just like we did before. So we'll get world location. Is it world? No, we want relative. Ooh, that's tricky. Because we want this value, this transform, which is relative. So let's see if we can get relative, maybe? Get relative transform. Yes, we can. Let's do relative location. And let's get relative transform, or rotation. Got those bad boys. I should test one at a time, but since we're here, let's just do it. And I would name these better. I would name them camera rotation. So let's do that. Let's not be lazy, even though it's Sunday and I'm tired. Oh god, I just popped open window on accident. So let's say rel cam position, and we'll say rel cam rotation. Pull those up. You're gonna want to make more room. Problem we always have in blueprints is that tend to run out of room for nodes. Okay, so after we do that, what are we doing? We're multiplying our values. Get our rotation and our thingy. Go multiply. Boo, bada boom, bada bing. And we'll do another multiply. Uh-oh. Rotator is not compatible with the float. What happens if we split it? Oh no. So this is one way to do it. We could split it and do a multiply for all those. Although we know we only need one because we only rotated on one axis, which is the y-axis, pitch. So yeah, let's do that. Bing bow. And then you go make rotator. That's supposed to be pitch. And there we go. Alright, let's add the location. I hope that works. And rotation. I really hope that works. Let's see what happens. Kind of. Kind of, but not really. Where are we? Whoa. That's odd. Now, why did that happen? Okay, so I see what's happening. Instead of set world location and rotation, we need to set relative rotation. Location and rotation. And we want our follow camera. So we can delete this little guy. That should work. Also, I think there's one more thing I did off camera, which, yeah, so I got relative transform. So I got follow camera and I said get relative transform. I split the struct pin because it was a transform into its vector and rotation components, and then plug those into our temporary variable thingies and use those over here. So this should work. I didn't actually test it, but I have faith. Nice. Beautiful. And that, my friends, is how you make the simple mechanics of the Helldivers 2 drop pod. That doesn't include the visual effects and like all the other little things, but that is how you would get started. Let me know what you think and if you want to see more. Till then, peace.